So you've undoubtedly seen the leak of the greatest Arcade1up product of all time, likely never to be surpassed, ever. But the biggest question is it real? Well, let me explain. What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. And yes, today we're going to talk about that Alien vs. Predator leak, Arcade1up's biggest, greatest leak of all time. Well, at least of this year. There's not been that much going on as far as leaks from Arcade1up. This is kind of a big one. This is tying into that list that we saw of potential releases for next year. So the big question today, there's a lot to speculate later on, but for right now, for today, is this legit? Is this real? So I think, well, first off, let's start by putting the image up. So you'll see this up on the screen right now. Is this image legit? Right off the bat, just looking at the image, it appears to have all the hallmarks of sort of a standard Arcade1up advertising image. You've got all the features off to the left and right hand side, shadowy, outlines of the actual features themselves. Lots to discuss later on, but right now, so far, looking at this, it appears to be in line with what I would think would be a standard Arcade1up advertisement. Remember, this is not just some shady image of a cabinet in the corner. This appears to be standard marketing material from Arcade1up, and if you look at the cabinet, it doesn't appear to be showcasing some weird, outlandish feature that is just unlikely that Arcade1up would do. It shows pretty much a deluxe design, just a few tweaks and changes, but nothing outrageous at all. So right off the image, for the most part, appears to be legit, as much as it's possible, right? This is definitely plausible just looking at the image itself. Now you got to consider the source. So Big Reese, for the most part, is not the kind of person that's going to rush to the internet to show off a weird, shady image he found with some back alley website from somewhere. So I think for the most part, Big Reese is a pretty solid guy, pretty solid source. But is this image real? There's not a really good way to say yes or no. It's very fuzzy. It could just be a low-res image because it was taken sort of with a cell phone or something, or maybe an odd screen grab, and it really wasn't, an original PNG file pushed out to, advertisers or retailers directly from Arcade1up. So the way it was captured could have been, a shady way, and that's why it's kind of fuzzy. That neither confirms or denies or verifies if this image is even real. But what does sort of give me a little bit of pause, and maybe there's a little bit more to this image than just my wishful thinking, is the fact that if you go to Big Reese's channel now, that video has been taken down. What he told me is that he was asked to take the video down. He couldn't go into all the reasons why, but he was asked to take it down. So I started doing a little bit of digging, asking a few questions from some other sources, and I am hearing two conflicting stories. So first off, because I'm hearing these two stories, I'm beginning to think the image is real. But let's talk about the two different stories I'm hearing. I'm hearing that the reason Big Reese had to take this image and this video down is because this is spoiling a reveal of this cabinet at CES. So January, we were going to see this thing. You're spoiling it. What are you doing? Take it down. That's one story. Fairly plausible, makes some sense. The other story I'm hearing is that they actually do not have the license for Alien vs. Predator. So the only home release of Alien vs. Predator, the arcade version, was from the Capcom arcade stick that was actually just a UK release. I had to actually import that from the United Kingdom so that I could use that in my Alien vs. Predator cabinet. So right off the bat, this thing has kind of not been an easy thing to license. So we've talked about it before, where Disney is now owned by Fox. And so while you would think that would make things a little bit easier, since Arcade1up has a relationship with Disney, they have Star Wars, they have Marvel, it still just means that maybe the licensing is a bit of an issue. And we haven't seen it used anywhere else. So either way it goes, I think that because the image was taken down, I think Big Reese probably wants the views like most of us do on YouTube. There's no reason to take it down unless he was really asked to. I think that adds to the validity of the image itself. I think that you want to take something down because it's real. It's an actual image. But there are these two different stories I'm hearing. But because these two different stories are, I'm hearing these two different stories, it doesn't necessarily mean that they are in conflict. It could mean that yes, two things can be true at the same time. This was going to be a CES release, and also, yes, they do not quite have the licensing locked up. That is valid, I think, and actually pretty plausible, because we just saw them release Time Crisis under the same FCC filing ID that they had previously failed and were not allowed to use. Coming right up to the we actually had port data saying these arcade machines from Arcade1up were actually in the ports in the country, but before they technically went on sale in the US, we saw a refiling of the FCC with the FCC. They got it approved, boom, and everything was fine. So paperwork was really all that was required to get that up and running. So up to the last minute, we saw that deal made, we saw that test passed, the filing was done, and they were good to go on the FCC side. Is it possible that we could see this also happening on the licensing side, where they're coming up with something, it's in the works, it's going to take a few months to get all this done, and then they're going to have that done before CES or before the cabinet goes on sale? So two things can be true at the same time. One thing I'm afraid of, and I could be partially to blame for this, is us out here sharing these images. One, because we're just excited about something new. We want to see what Arcade1up is doing. We all want to see our favorite game out there in some form or fashion, XL, 3/4, whatever. One thing I'm afraid of, though, is something that we've been warned by others, including Travis, who now works for Arcade1up, is that we could be spoiling or ruining some of these potential deals, and it's possible that this cabinet may not even be made because of us sharing this image that was leaked. So I think the responsibility really falls on the leaker, not the advertising of the leaks. So I don't think we're really to blame. It doesn't really absolve us of all responsibility, but hey, at the end of the day, we didn't know. We just wanted to tell you about it because we're excited. Now, maybe at the end of the day, this does happen. Everything goes according to plan, and we can look back on this and laugh and just look at the fact that, hey, at least we brought something to the table. Arcade1up brought something to the table that the fans were actually excited about, and, all that. So is it real? I believe that this is actually real. The reason it was taken down is one of two reasons. I think both of them are likely. It could just be that the licensing is not locked up yet, and we may never see this cabinet, or that's why there was some hesitation in releasing it and leaving it out there. As far as what do I think about the cabinet, the games included, the features, the design, all that is going to have to wait for this Sunday show. Tune into this week, this Sunday at 8 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, where we're going to talk about this. We're going to sit back, we're going to have a glass of bourbon, and we're going to talk about one of the cabinets, one of the greatest cabinets that could ever be made by Arcade1up. But what do I really think about it? I'll let you know all that stuff Sunday. Anyway, thank you so much for stopping by, everybody checking out this channel, and I will see all of you next time.